Hi, welcome. It is another weekend. We're getting close to Thanksgiving. It is the week before Thanksgiving, and it's going to be a good weekend. Got a lot of stuff that I'm going to get done. I've got a healthy run on the Viper. It is ready for its final coats of paint and weathering. Some detail work to be done on it. Star-Lord is almost finished. Some details yet to be painted on that. But the big news is, look what came in, didn't come in the mail. I went out and bought it this week. Ta-da! No, I'm not going to do the no. That's been done to death. As you recall, many longtime viewers might know that I had in my grubby little paws a test shot of this kit. And I was forced to return it. Actually, I was asked to return it. But no, I had to give it up when it was done. And I could not wait to get one of my very own. And now that I do, I'm noticing some changes from the kit that I had. First of all, the kit that I had was, like I say, a test shot. And it was light gray. This is bluer. This is a lot bluer. Doesn't really change anything as far as how it's to be painted. I'm still going to put a coat of primer on it like I always do. But interesting. I guess I hadn't really thought of it, that it would be the possibility that it would be a different color than the test shot. I probably should have. But since this one I get to glue together and keep for my very own, I'm going to start documenting how that is done. This is going to be a very quick build. I could easily finish this weekend if I really wanted to rush it. I don't want to rush it, but I'm going to move at a good clip. So good thing is I don't have to wait for decals to dry, because luckily I know somebody who does painting masks, and therefore I will be using my own masks on my own kit. How about that? A couple of things I'm going to do differently than what they suggest. First of all, I'm not wild about the terracotta brown rocks that they have called out for. I'm going to go more with a gray granite type of a look. So that's going to be one big noticeable difference. And I guess the next thing to do is to clean up the parts. And I've already got them cut off the sprues and sanded, but and washed everything. Always wash your kits. But I've got everything ready to start some basic construction. So that's where we are. And let's get on with the weekend. Okay, when we left the Viper, it was in a very bound up state. It had a million clips on it. It had tape all over it. It was in dry dock, waiting to be finished, or waiting to be released. And here's the state of it. Here, I'm sorry that you're getting a glare from the light. I don't mean to, so that you can see some of the detail that's going on in here. The nice scraped back detail. The next step is to dust a coat of Pontiac Engine Blue Metallic over it to return the metallic sheen to some parts. And then one last weathering pass, and it'll be done. I've got to work on the landing gear. They're kind of plain. I attribute that to when Moebius designed this kit, they kind of split the baby, so to speak. They made it look a lot like the CG model, but then they had to make some concessions to the full-sized kit, or the full-size prop. And the full-size prop is probably more prominent in how they handled the landing gear. The CG never really put that much detail into the landing gear. But so that's the landing gear I need to put on there. And you can see it. Here's the power jack. And let me plug it in so I can show you how the lighting turned out, which I think the lighting for the cockpit turned out very, very nicely. This is not the final plug that I will use. It's just what I've got on hand. This is just set up straight 9 bolts. You plug it in, take out this landing gear. Okay. First you see the lit engines back there. Very nicely done. But here's the cockpit. Now I really like how that turned out. There's enough light. Kill this overhead. There's enough light going on. Let me see if I can back it up and get a focus here. Yeah, there's enough light going on. There's some light leaks to take care of, most notably up under the front of the dash, that I can wedge some little bits of rolled up epoxy sculpt in there. But look at that heads up display light. That is, come on, let's get out here and focus. There we go. The heads up display, using a tiny little chip light in there, really shines the light down on there in a very neat way. And the same is true with that light that's in above the keyboard there. But some of this is light leaks and some of this is reflected light. What you think is a light leak is actually a light reflecting off of a wall or shining onto a wall and making it look like a light leak. But you take this and then you put the cockpit over it, and it really looks sharp. Really looks sharp with that cockpit on it, because the cockpit catches some reflections and whatnot. But putting the guns on this and then doing the final detailing is all that remains. Let me zoom back out. Yeah, all that remains on this kit, and it'll be ready for the shelf. It's looking mighty sweet. Okay, and of course the last one here is Star-Lord. Not getting a lot of the star attention that he should. I'm going to take another run at some of the detailing. Check the... Where are you? There you are. I got to pull out some detail on his face and his hair, and then some detail on the buckles and whatnot. Like I said, there's some detail on his guns that need to be worked on, and I need to weather the gloves. Little things, but like I said, I've been working on this in between other kits, so I need to finish him up and get him on the shelf as well. So lots of fun ahead for this weekend, lots to get accomplished, and hopefully lots to show for it at the end. Working on the Caped Crusader. Come across, first of all, it's an excellent kit, another home run from Moebius. But you come across the best and the trickiest issue about this entire build is seams. Now, normally, the modeler hates a seam. You want to get rid of all the seams. The seams are your enemy. The seams make it look like you just slapped a kit together with no thought. However, like the robot kit, the Batman kit celebrates seams. There were seams in the costume. Now, this is the tricky area in modeling. Is this a reproduction of the character, or is this a reproduction of the costume used on the show? Case in point with the robot, they included what would be very obviously big screw heads. Screw heads that, you know, on a real robot probably wouldn't be there, but were there on the prop, on the feet sections and on the lifting hooks. On the shoulders, there are what are very noticeably screw heads. You leave those in because it's a faithful reproduction of the prop. Now coming to the Batman kit, you have, and here's a good example. Now I've sanded down the seam to the top of the cowl, but this is a seam between the two parts. This is a seam on the costume. It's probably the zipper that went up the back of the head so that he could remove it. You leave that in because it's part of the costume. The best example I can give you is on the legs. Now, you know the tights, the leotard tights that they wore didn't have a seam down the middle, so you'll sand that seam down. But if you notice, the front of the boot did have a seam. So you would sand to this point and then stop and leave that seam in there and actually celebrate it. Now you would sand the seam away from the sole of the boot, but you would leave it on the front and the back because that's part of the costume. So get real familiar. Pull out hopefully you've all bought the new Blu-rays, or at least the DVDs, and you've seen what the costume looks like probably in the best condition that anybody has seen it in the last 30 years or more, since it's, you know, on the Blu-ray. But familiarize yourself with where the seams in the costume are versus where the seams in the kit are. There are seams in the gloves that you'll want to leave in, but the seams on the tights you won't want to leave in. Now this is really tricky when you get to the shoulder and you're putting the shoulder parts together, because yes, the costume had a seam at the shoulder, but you still probably want to fill that in. The level of the care you take on that is of course up to you, but you'll probably want to sand and fill the seam in the shoulder. Just something to be aware of. Okay, now that I've got the major bits put together and the seams sanded, it is time for the first coat of primer, and that's where your sanding and your seams really show you that you didn't do as good a job as you thought you had. So I'm prepared to do a lot more tomorrow after I have a chance to see how the seams turned out. But all in all, it's sanding up very well. It's just a question of, like I said, remembering what seams you want to leave and what seams you want to eradicate. Good morning, it's Saturday morning and I'm resuming work on the Batman figure. I have sprayed primer over all of the sanded parts. I got to that last night. I got the parts put together and glued and then sanded. And this morning I primered, and now I'm checking to see what seams still need to be cleaned up. And here you can see a good example of what I was talking about. The seam on the leg is mostly taken care of, but the seam on the boot has not been, because of that being a seam on the costume. Let's see, here's another good example. The cowl seam is still visible, whereas the top join part has been taken care of. The next thing to do is to lightly sand, and then using a very diluted version of the glazing and spot putty, which is a little bit of putty and a lot of acetone and mixed up in a bottle so that I can brush it on. I'm going to brush it into the seams that are still showing and make a very fine seam filling putty out of it. Now see, the hand there is a bit strange. There is supposed to be a seam that goes and then takes right here and goes around the index finger, so that bit in the center needs to be filled. But and here it's the same thing. You can see the seam around the thumb needs to be filled, but the seam that goes around the index finger should stay. But that's the next thing. Lest you think I forgot working on the Viper, I'm using this same watered down, or I say acetoned down, thinned down spot putty to try to mitigate this nasty seam here. What I'm going to do is I'm just laying on consecutive coats over this seam in an attempt to fill in that crack, and then I'll let it sit for a good long while and sand down the excess and then paint back over it. I've decided to leave this seam, obviously, because it looks structural. It looks like it belongs there. But these seams here where it splits, particularly on these bits of paneling, it looks where it's not a panel line, but it looks to be splitting a particular piece. That's where I'm trying to close up those seams. I did best I could when I glued them together to try to melt the plastic and form it, but it did leave a gap, so I'm just letting it dry and then coming back in and touching it again, and then I'll let this sit for a good long while and come back and sand it. It is time to shut down for Saturday evening, but I wanted to show you a bunch of what I got done today. You'll see things in various stages, and I'll try to explain them as best I can. Batman, legs, arms, torso, sanded, put together, painted, primed and then painted. back when I was working on Reliant, I believe, I happened across this new gravel gray color polyscale. Of course, sadly discontinued polyscale, but if you can find it, because new gravel gray is the perfect color to my eye. Again, your mileage may vary. It's the perfect color for the tights. It is a gray, but it is a blue gray. It is a little bit bluer than the primer gray, and a little bit lighter than the actual color of the plastic the kit is made in. And I can't help but think that's not a coincidence that they molded the kit in that light blue gray plastic to try to match the color of the tights. But the as you can see, I don't know how much you can see the difference between the boot and the leg. The boot has primer gray on it. The leg has the gravel gray on it. That's the arms, the legs, the torso. Now, here you'll notice something. I've painted the bottom of the cowl black, and I painted the pants black. And you'll say, wait, that's Frank Miller color. That's not Adam West color. And I have to agree with you. Yes, you're right. When I was out today doing my regular shopping, I had to pick up some more white sandable primer for the flush tones and whatnot, and I happened across the color that is it's another one of these duplicate colors, and I don't have the cap here right now. The cap has the color name on it, but it is a deep, and I promise on the next segment I will get you that name, but it is a deep metallic blue. It is a gorgeous color. Again, these blues and these violets are going to have a hard time, I think, on the video coming out. But so I thought that was the perfect color for Batman, for the cape and for the boots and for everything. So I brought it home and I experimented on the cape because it's a big expanse of plastic, and it doesn't have to be touched by anything else, and I can work on it aside. Well, just over the primer itself, it's too bright. It's too garish. It's not the deep color. So I figured, okay, well, let's try it over black instead. And so I painted the cape black, and then I painted this blue over top of it. And boy, howdy, I got to tell you, I really do like the way that blue turned out. So that is why I have put a black base on the cowl, and on the legs, and on the pants, and on the cowl neck. Now, I have not done anything, because these colors don't really touch each other. I have not done the boots and the gloves with the black, but I'm going to do that tomorrow. Then, on top of the blue-black combo, I pulled out the Comart Violet. And I need to find, here it is, Comart TR Violet. And when sprayed over top of the blue, puts the perfect purple shine to it. It just stains that blue purple. And there is a little bit of the cape where the inside of the cape is folded back over the outside. Let me pull this tape off now and see if you can tell the difference. Maybe you can see the difference there. You can definitely see the purple on the inside. The inside is a great place to experiment on your colors, because it's going to get covered up with Batman on the inside, so a lot of the inside of the cape is never going to show. So it's a good place to experiment on your colors. The subtleties between the blue and the purple are kind of being lost on the video. It's under this fluorescent light. Tomorrow I'll take it outside under sunlight and we'll see if we can tell the difference. But I can really see how the purple is accenting the blue. And that's what I plan on doing with all of the areas on the cowl and the boots in the hat, boots in the gloves that get this this color treatment. So I'm going to let this sit overnight and touch it up tomorrow. Let's see, the next kit would be, oh, this is the nameplate. I just got the yellow sprayed on that so that I can paint it or mask it and paint it tomorrow. Now I made the belt put the belt together, and it was a little too clean. So I went in with some black and I messed it up. And I'm going to come back with the yellow again to hit the highlights. But what this is going to do is it's going to dirty it up a little bit just to help play with the shadows a bit. Let's see, what else have we got. This is a tale of two faces. Batman Two-Face, if you will. This is the stock kit. That's funny, the camera is catching these as face recognition. This is the stock kit. This is a replacement face done by Tom Parker at Cult of Personality. He was kind enough to send me a couple of these. It is a slightly more stern expression than the... it was also sculpted by Jeff Yeager, who did the sculpt of this. But this is, you know, this was for the plastic injected kit, and it's a bit soft. This is resin, and it has a little bit more detail. Now, you can see here, I've washed some color into it, and I am, and then I wiped it off. I am trying to build up some layers of texture. But you'll notice the mouth is a little more open. The eyes have detail in them. And if I can find, yes, here it is, the cowl piece. When you put the cowl piece over it, it looks even more like Adam West than the stock piece. And there's one thing I always noticed. I've been looking through the Blu-rays and looking through some episodes, and you could tell that Adam West was struggling a little bit with visibility coming out of the cowl, because he would turn his head and he would kind of, the way he looked around, and this kind of captures that slightly cross-eyed look that he sometimes would get on the expression on his face when from wearing the mask. He kind of looked cross-eyed sometimes. And this captures that, I think, very well. Plus, with the open mouth, I think it's just a little more Adam. So, experimenting with those faces, and that's where we are tonight. Now, the Viper, I have gone through a couple different times with that watered down, and you can see where I'm starting to fill in those gaps. The watered down putty, and sand it, and then put another coat on, and then do a spray over it. And I keep saying "and" a lot, I'm sorry. That's progressing along those lines. Now, it's not as much sexy work to see there as there is on the Batman, but that's where we are for tonight, and we'll pick this up tomorrow. By the way, the color is Patriot Blue Metallic. The Duplicolor color is Patriot Blue Metallic, but like I said, it goes better over black than it does over gray. I just couldn't stop working on Batman tonight. It's still Saturday night. I have done some painting on the base. That's about as much detail as I'm going to put on it. I am working on the placard, and as you can see, I have sprayed it white with white primer, and then I sprayed yellow over all of the lettering, and now I am masking the yellow, and I will mask the white areas of the face so that I can paint the whole enchilada black. Let's see, here's where we are with the replacement face. Looking pretty good. I have worked on the cowl a bit. I've got the masks on it. I've got the light blue base coating on it, and I've got the masks on it for the nose pieces and the eyebrows. And then I've painted the nose itself purple. Let me see, where else are we? Oh, the cowl. I'm still dickering with the color on that. I may have to go shinier on that, but once I had painted it, it had gotten awfully dark. So that's a light dusting of this Citadel Nagaroth Night, which is a nice purple, over top of it. I've got so many different acrylics and enamels and com arts and everything over this that it's becoming quite a mishmash, and it might be tough to duplicate. So I'm glad I'm recording this so I can maybe replicate it down the line. Inside of the cape with the, see, this is the kind of thing I was looking for. More of a differentiation between the purple and the blue. Now I'll go back in and touch that blue again tomorrow, but you can see the purple. Hopefully you can see the purple and how it shines. Put this under the light. How it shines against the blue. It's kind of a different satiny look from the really, really shiny blue. And I'm also working on Star-Lord. His face, every time I pull the flesh colors out for the faces, I give a pass on Star-Lord as well. Now see, there is the difference between the replacement face and the stock face. Look at this mess. Welcome back. It is Sunday morning. I've had the night to sleep on it, and I think I have come up with the best procedure for painting the Batman colors. Slightly different than what I came up with yesterday. I was playing with a bunch of different combinations, and now I think I finally got the procedure down, but good north, I need to clean up this mess first. So let me get to that, and we'll get on with today's work. I'm so excited. And I can see the top of my desk again, which is good, my workbench. Had lots of time to think about this. I had all the right colors, I believe, but I had wrong was the order. I tried, well, I'm not going to tell you what I tried because it's irrelevant. It wasn't the right order. What I need to do, I've worked out, is to spray the boots and the gloves Tamiya black first. I need to mask those all off and get those so that they don't get any paint on the gray that I have painted yesterday. I know you can't really see a lot of difference between the primer boot and the painted leg, but trust me, it's there. So I need to mask off these 4 bits and spray the black first, and that's what I gotta do. Starting with the right leg, only because I grabbed it first, I take the piece off of the template sheet that is the right leg, and the first thing I do is you line it up on the apex or the peak of the boot, and then you simply wrap those 2 sides around until they meet in the back. Now that I've got the tape wrapped around carefully, I just went above it with some scraps of painter's tape, and what that does is that it just increases the range that allows you to be sloppy as far as your overspray. You don't have to be as precise because you're masking this off. Also, it gives you a place to grip it if you want to grip it with clamps or anything, or some sort of clip to hold it while it's drying. You can do that over the tape and not have to worry about messing up your paint. So now that I've done that one leg, I'll do the other 3 parts and then come back. One thing I didn't show, sorry for the interruption, was how to do the arms. Basically, you do it the same way as you do the leg. You just balance the top of the template into the crux of the elbow there, up against where the edge of the glove is, and then you wrap them around left and right. You'll notice these little diamond-shaped cutouts here, triangle-shaped cutouts. Those are just there to allow the vinyl to bend and stretch a little bit easier, sort of like darts, I guess you'd put in a dressmaker's pattern when you are getting ready to sew 2 pieces of fabric together. Now I'll do the other 2 and come back when they're done. There are, use your plural nouns, there are 2 masks that also help mask off black paint, which is something that I'm going to do while I have the black paint in the brush, and that is the sides of the cowl. I need to mask these ear pieces off so that they are black, plus this very front part here that is part of the sides of the cowl but actually need to match the front piece of the cowl. It's an easy part to miss if you're not looking for it. But these bits have to be black, so I am putting this mask over those areas. See, I've got that wrapped around. It kind of goes behind the ears on both sides, and it allows those 2 spots in the front. Now I can put regular yellow tape around the areas that I don't want any black splashed paint on. So do that for both sides, and then we'll be ready to paint the black. I've got the perimeter tape on on all of the arms and the legs, so everything that hopefully that is left exposed will be painted black. Okay, we're halfway there. We've got purple, which is this Citadel paints, Nagaroth Knight, wherever Nagaroth happens to be. Apparently their knights are purple, but it's a light coating over the black, which I would guess it would be Nagaroth Midnight. But it's almost there. It's lacking the sheen, and it's a little too purple, and that's what the metallic blue is going to take care of. So I'm going to give this an hour to dry, and then I'll come back and do the bits that I have got masked off, and then I'm going to paint the heels on the boots. Okay, we've got the black on, we've got the purple on, we've got one last thing, and that's the dust of this metallic blue over top of these bits, and then I would like to get the arms and legs attached to the torso today and call that a day. I've taken the masks off so you can see the black that was painted against the purple blue of the cowl. And so the next step is to paint the blue. Here we go. Final masks have been removed. We've got iridescent blue purple gloves and iridescent bluish purple boots against a gray blue tight, not quite a spandex, but a leotard. Now the next thing to do is to attach them to the torso, and I gotta take that collar piece off, but attaching them to the torso, and that's going to be where we end it today. And here's where we're going to leave it for the weekend. Notable details: finish the face, attach the cowl or the mask in the face, which are right there on the base. Finish the belt, the batarang and rope, and really the head and the cape have not been glued down. I'm still kind of torn about the shoulder seam there, whether to leave that or try to close it up. You can see the seams on the gloves and on the boots, but not on the leg or the arm. So we'll let that dry, and then I'll come back to it and address it. Plus, I'm thinking that I want to do some shading on the leotard with pastels, just to have something very light at the joints and where the wrinkles in the costume are. So we'll let that sit. I'm going to move it out to the other room to clear off space so I can work on the Viper a bit. Here's our friend. Here's our old friend, the Viper Mark 7. I've got the many courses of going over that seam with the thinned putty, and then going back with a dental pick and scribing the lines that I want to keep back in. Make sure that they do not get filled in. I'm ready to put a coat of primer over it and then build the colors back up color by color. There would be primer, and then there would be the Pontiac blue, and then the peekaboo blue, and then that would catch us all up to normal. And then actually no, I would need to go in with the smoke on the panel lines. That would catch us all back up to the top level, and then to do the final weathering. And what I did is, rather than pull out the can of primer, I just went in with a bar gray on a brush and just painted over the panels themselves that had the putty on them. And I'll let that dry for a couple days before I go back in and sand it. But looking very good overall. We're down to the short rows on this one, and so this is one I have a tendency sometimes to rush to finish something, so I'm kind of taking my time and working on this with in concert with the Batman to have them both kind of finish the finish line at the same time. Got a short week coming up. We've got 3 days of work and then Thanksgiving and the weekend. So what I don't get done in the next couple of days, I certainly will get done by the end of the holiday weekend. So signing off for another fun-filled weekend at Aztec Dummy Productions, and I hope to see you next week. Until then, happy Thanksgiving.